Get Gutsy episode number 196 with Allie Brown. Reclaim a category of one.
Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting-edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now.
Hey everybody. Oh my gosh, Jenny here. I probably am the most excited about this show just because. A few reasons. Number one, it's my birthday. When this goes live, it is May 23rd, 2018, and I am officially 41 years old. I feel so good. Do I feel good? When I was young, I thought 41 was ancient. And I don't know, maybe there is some ancientness to it, but it's a good ancient. You know, like an ancient where you've got roots and you figure some stuff out, and yet you're still learning a ton. And I'm happy and I'm healthy and I have so many blessings in my life, including you tuning in right now. So thanks so much for being here. We have the most extraordinary guest today, and I'm just kind of jumping out of my seat because this woman, Allie Brown, she was my original coach. She has been on the show before. She came on the show when I was launching in November of 2015. Oh my God. I say that and I'm like, what? So we're now in May 2018. I'm like, oh my goodness. She came out in May 2015. It was so awesome to have her help me launch the show. And her show, Glambition, really inspired me that I wanted to have a show and, you know, put my point of view out there and have great guests on. And so thanks, Allie, for inspiring me then and so many other times before that. Y'all, Allie was the first coach that I hired when I was a newbie entrepreneur. And I'm so glad that she worked with newbies like me back in the day. She doesn't do that so much anymore. You'll hear her story on her evolution, but she coached and trained and mentored so many of us female entrepreneurs who were coming up the ranks. When I hired her, I went to her Shine event in late 2009. You'll hear me tell the story. And I joined her mastermind, and I knew I was supposed to be in it, and I was totally freaking out. And yet I just knew that she was the woman that could teach me what I needed to know to make this business successful. I knew I was meant to be a coach. I knew I had, some gifts, a lot of gifts to share with my tribe. I had, a previous corporate career. I was successful there, but I hadn't kind of cracked the nut yet on how to do what I do in this space, in the online entrepreneur space, the coaching space, and Allie had. And so when I saw her, she came across my radar, I just knew that she was the one. She was the one who was going to teach me. And you'll hear, us go through some of that on today's conversation. And I really just wanted to talk to her about, her journey, because as I alluded to, she did a ton of training of, women like me at that place when we were, just getting into this field, had some prior success in a different field. But I credit the work I did with Allie and, a few other coaches too who've been in my life, but helping me, crack that six-figure mark in my business, and then multiple six-figure mark in my business. It was her. And wow, just to have her on the show today is just spectacular. So before I go into some of the points that we touch on, I want to make sure that I got some cool stuff going on right now. I am basically breaking some rules right now, and I am enrolling for 2 of my programs at the same time. And I think I credit Allie for teaching me how to break some rules too. Plus, that's just in my blood. It's in my bones. I am a rebel at heart. So essentially, I'm enrolling for my 2 flagship programs because there's a similar audience that we're talking to. It's just that the two types of women that I'm deeply inspired to work with, they're simply at two different points on the journey. And so one of the programs I'm enrolling for is my coaching school called Get Gutsy Coach Training School. And this is the place for spiritual coaches who want to make a difference and a great living. I created my own coaching school a few years back because there was just a massive need in the market, and I got tired of waiting for somebody else to fill it. So we've graduated just about 100 students from our school since we opened our doors in 2015, and now we are enrolling for our next class of superstars. So if you want to train under me to do this thing as a coach, now's the time. CoachTrainingschool.com is where you can apply, CoachTrainingschool.com. So that's program number one. Program number two is for those of you who are a bit further along in your business, and you've been out there for some time, making some moves, trying some things. Maybe you've already trained to become a coach. Maybe you're not even a coach, you're a consultant, you're a creative of some sort, and you simply want some guidance from me, some really strong coaching, some strategic oversight in terms of what you're doing. You want to build your brand in a smarter way. You want to have more profitable offers. You want to be in a community of other ambitious women. That's why my mastermind exists. It's called Glow. I've been leading a mastermind for a long time, and my mastermind is awesome. It stands for Gutsy Leaders of Wisdom, and we're going to have a blast. I'm going to help you grow, and you are going to really rock out the remainder of 2018. So come check that out. If you've been part of a mastermind or been wanting to be a part of one, come see what I have for you. glowmastermind.com. That's glowmastermind.com. And one of the pieces of Glow is a retreat in Tulum, Mexico, which is just an extraordinary place on this planet. And it happens in November, which is the exact same time that Allie Brown is having an amazing event that she'll tell you more about on today's episode. If I wasn't leading my extraordinary mastermind retreat in Tulum, I would go to Allie's event. So that's a shout out. If you want to, work with Allie or connect with her more deeply, you definitely want to be at her event. And if you want to work with me in Glow and be in Tulum, Mexico with me, then you know where to go, glowmastermind.com. So Allie is going to talk to you today about the sharp right turn that she made in her business and how she really just shook everything up. And what she did was to reclaim a category of one. When she said that, I was like, whoa, I circled it big time on my notes. And she just talked about how she positioned herself so strongly with the market that she knew was her zone of genius to serve, and that is the higher level woman. And you'll hear how she had to make some real definitive moves in order to open herself up to that positioning, to reclaiming that category of one. That's when I was working with her, when she made those shifts. I remember when it all happened. We talk about it on the episode. We talk about really re-engineering her business so she could be in her genius, and that your business success follows your personal growth. It was just, so awesome to hear her break things down. And what I most appreciate about Allie is that, and I tell her this, and you'll hear me say this to her, is that she's so smart, and the way that she's able to communicate points in such an elegant, powerful, clear way. She brings the heat on this episode. If you haven't been around her energy before, you're in for a treat. And if you have, you're also in for a treat, because we just get really real together. and that's what I'm able to do with Allie is get really real. You're going to really appreciate her vulnerability and her honest sharing. And she shares a tip too for those of you who are wanting to break that six-figure income, which feels like a ceiling. I asked her about that. Someone in my community wanted me to serve that up to her, that question, and she shares her perspective, which I 100% agree with. So for those of you who haven't yet cracked that 6-figure mark, but you're so ready, you know that you do great work in this world and you just need some guidance to get you, to that level where you deserve to be and beyond, then you're going to get a tremendous amount of value from today's episode. I could not think of a more appropriate guest that I could feature on my birthday. Again, I think it's very important that we shout out and celebrate and thank our teachers and coaches and mentors. When you find somebody who has done the thing that you want to do and they are willing to help you, that is the greatest gift in the world. The greatest gift in the world. This path is not the easiest path in the world, this entrepreneurship journey, just FYI. So when you find somebody who can help make it easier for you, you know what to do. Enjoy today's episode here on Get Gutsy. Allie Brown, OMG, I am so excited to have you here on Get Gutsy. That's right, we got to stay hydrated because we're going to be having
You better hydrate up for this one.
I'm going to take my sip too. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's so great. So great to see you. I haven't seen you in a few years.
It's been
I love
a
the
while.
shorter hair, shift in energy.
Shift in energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shift in energy. And I want to really dive into that because I want to know what's up with you. I mean, I still follow your journey and I tell everyone you're like the OG, the original goddess. You're the one who got me into this whole world.
I'm going to write that down, OG. I need like that a little nameplate on my desk.
You are.
No way to describe myself.
You're the OG. I call you the OG and the fairy godmother. So that's how I think about you. And wow, I originally had you on this show 2.5 years ago. It was November of 2015 when I was just launching this, and your show Glambition inspired me. And I was like, I like this whole podcasting. I think I could do that. And then I did, and you came on, and it was a great conversation. And I really want to just hunker down on what you've been doing over these last 2.5 years, kind of how your model has shifted, why you made those moves, how you made those moves.
Yeah.
Because so many people in my community are, they have that coaching background. We kind of got in and you got a lot of us into this whole world. And then you made some distinct changes in how you.
And then I took an exit ramp.
Yeah,
I was like, see ya, I wouldn't want to be ya. I picture this like,
yeah,
it was like
yeah,
this.
Exactly. And we're like, what, and so it's been awesome. And I use your example so much when I talk to people because this industry is going through like major upheaval right now. So I just want this to be a real conversation about
I love that.
Doing and advice for us.
Yeah. When I was on your show last, it's interesting because I thought it was 2016. It was 2015. Was I talking about any of this? Or was I on the verge?
No, you were. You were like, you talked about how you just really had this moment of you knew things needed to change and you made this, sharp right turn because it was earlier that year that I went to your workshop, your Repower workshop. It was, it was like, that
was where I first started to like experiment with the new ideas and new content, new IP and okay. So I was just starting to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, okay. And I know that you told everyone a bit about me, but just a little, can I give a little context?
Of course, please.
So, let me go back to like one specific moment. The last moment I remember making, just saying that something has to change was 2012. And in my mind, it was definitively known as the launch that put me on Xanax. And those of you who have done big launches, you know what I'm talking about. And so for those of you who are newer to the industry, I just want to flash back in that it was a very exciting time. It still is, by the way. I'm not knocking coaching at all, but like there's a lot of things we need to be aware of. I really had led the way in many areas of the online quote coaching space. Like my past life was internet marketing. I was the first one on stage at many of these guys conferences. I suffered through all the dick jokes and inappropriate humor for all you gals to come teach that content to you.
Yes, thank you.
And then, a few things happened. One was I was looking around going, okay, this industry is getting more and more saturated. What's very interesting, and I may have said this on the earlier show, is that social media really is what changed everything. It
Mm,
suddenly leveled the playing field for entry. There was no
mhm,
barrier to entry. And today,
mm,
even, I know some coaches who don't even have websites. They are driving people to Facebook groups. They are selling directly to they're doing ads to a webinar, to a phone call. I mean, the process is shortened, the entry level is shortened, but it's created a lot of platforms, a lot of noise, a lot of people.
mhm,
And so I was starting to see everyone, like I was kind of out front having a good time, and then I look around and I'm like, oh, where'd you guys come from? Like they're all lined up with me at the starting line, and I'm
yes.
like, okay. So I just start working harder. I just
Mm,
start marketing harder. We
mhm,
start doing more events. All right, they're doing
mhm,
2 events, we'll do 4. They have
mhm,
8 weeks of content, we'll do 52. Well,
mhm,
so we just kept. That was the model that we were taught, and aware of at the time, and
mhm,
how you grow, right? And
mhm,
still,
mhm,
you still see this out there. There's a lot of pressure on looking big, showing fast growth. And I'm not
mhm,
talking about just coaching consulting industry. I'm talking about, when you're out there raising funds, and these
mhm,
companies that are going for funding have to show
mhm,
they're going to make immense growth,
mhm,
in their trajectory.
mhm,
And when you have a board of directors and investors, I
mhm,
remember, I can't remember if it was either Reddit or it was Tinder had shown their board like a 40 million person user increase in like a quarter, and they're like, it's not enough. I mean,
wow.
that's the kind of and I could totally relate to that, right?
Mhm,
So it was an exciting time, but it started to get a lot harder, and that made it
mhm,
less enjoyable for me,
right. Mhm,
because I was doing more. That's one factor of it. There was a lot of noise happening,
mhm,
and I realized in my slipping into that competitive mode, I had lost my ability to lead.
mm, mhm. Wow.
So it was a perfect storm for me that resulted in, I mean, this took me about 2 years to make this decision, is to say, you know what, I'm going to make what we call the sharp right turn. I learned that term
Yep.
from Alan Weiss, who's really well known in the consulting community. When I first heard that, I remember just dropping my pen and going, that's what I want. That just sounds like you're all on the highway together, and you're
Yeah.
just like that's what I
Yes.
want. Um, it's not it's not opting out. It's not
Mhm,
deciding that you're not worth it. Like I went through all
mhm,
this stuff that in my mind, and I
mhm,
was like, there's got to be a simpler way. And I
mhm.
also just, by the way, met the right guy
And have those
with
babies.
unexpectedly, which
Yes.
ladies, if you're in your 40s, use birth control. Okay.
It can happen.
It
Yeah.
can happen to you.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
thank God, I'm amazed. I mean, God's plan. I was
Yes.
so
Yes.
blessed. They turned 5 in 2 weeks, Jenny. Can't believe.
Wow. Oh my
So it
gosh.
was this accumulation of like everything. And those of you who are beginning, you may not be able to take in everything I'm saying,
Mhm,
but those of you who are in multiple 6 figures, 7, you understand when you wake up and you don't want to get out from under the duvet, and you're like, what's
mhm.
wrong? Because everything's great on paper.
Right.
Like we're making a ton of money. I'm doing everything
Mhm,
I want to do. I'm the big deal. And it sounds so cliche, but you're like, I'm bored.
mhm,
This is getting harder, and
mhm.
also we are launching things to feed the team, essentially.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I want to. Okay, let me take some time off and work on a book. No, no, you
Mhm,
can't do that once you're in that
mhm.
machine. And
Yes.
a few people have scaled really, really well, and kudos to them. But
Mhm,
I realized running the big machine wasn't my destiny, and that
mhm.
was hard for my ego. Oh man,
Oh
that
yeah.
was really hard because I could do it
Right.
all. So
Yes.
I just kept thinking, you know what? I want to get back to what I love and get back to that genius zone. I know you are a big fan of that book, The Big Leap, as well as I
Yes.
am.
Yes.
And I read that book, Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, years ago. And I'm like, well, this is nice. I don't, quite get a lot from it. And I picked it up
Mhm,
again right before Repower when you came to my workshop,
mhm.
and just started sobbing because it
Mm.
was talking about excellence versus genius. And I was
Yes.
making a lot of money in excellence. I
Mhm.
was also feeding a lot of team members in
Yes.
excellence. I
Yes.
was helping everyone in excellence.
Mhm.
And I was inside creatively starving.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
I wrestled with this feeling of how selfish is it for me to walk away from all this and
Mhm.
instead create and do only what I want to do.
Right.
And that may sound funny for me to
Mhm.
feel that selfish, but at the
Mhm.
time it really, really did. Because
Mhm.
everyone had expectations of me. They
Mhm.
were like, what do you mean we're not going to have any more events?
Yep.
Um, I don't know if you were at the last meeting for, I don't know if you were in Elevate, but like we had the one last. You were.
I was in that, like the whole
Yeah.
time you had. I didn't come to every meeting, but most I did. I was pregnant with Kate during part of that. But yeah, I remember when you announced that it like was going away and people were like,
Yeah.
What?
I know.
What are we gonna do? But
I know, you could tell. I was like,
you.
I won't be here if you come back next year. Like, I won't be at this hotel.
Yes. Yes.
Program's closing.
Yes.
Really. And I have to tell you that it was a really rocky period, having tough discussions with my team, saying, listen, I've had kids. I want some time to think about the rest of my career, like what I really want to create.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them took it really well, and actually I trained them to create their own businesses, and they're still working with me today.
Great.
Some did not. Some did not, and that's fine. They wanted the full-time job. They went elsewhere.
Yes.
And so I decided during that transition to get back to what is my genius. And my genius is coaching higher level women. So the high 6 figures, 7 figures, 8-figure women entrepreneurs. And so what I did was eliminate instantly my competition by reclaiming my category of one. When I stepped into that genius and decided to finally claim it again and say, no, I'm not working with the 80%. I'm working with this 20%, which on paper looks scary. It's a smaller market. It may be harder to reach, but position myself so strongly there. I have to share with you, Jenny, it's been an incredible wake-up call, because in the end, I'm working probably half as much as I did. I am netting more money personally. Profit. There's a word called net, ladies, and you have to learn about it. There are times you want to get revenues to a certain level, maybe to just, get some prestige. Maybe you want to hit the 7 figures. Everyone, is impressed by that. Maybe it opens doors to new communities and networks. There are some strategic reasons you may want to hit revenue to attract investors and all that. But I'm like, none of this is part of my plan anymore. So this is about me, what I take home, what I'm putting in the bank, how much fun I'm having, the genius that I'm in, and just actually really enjoying this again.
Yeah, totally. You reclaimed it. And I remember you sharing some of that too with, it became, like you said, this machine. And it was what you wanted at that time, or what you thought you wanted.
Yeah.
And then boom, I mean, for me, it's like the shift came to you, and I think you were already feeling it, but like those twins were that blessing where you just knew, this can't go on. Like your life changes when you have children, whether you want to believe that's true or not. And it just does. Your perspective changes, not just about you anymore. You can't work 15-hour days every day.
I had no idea. I always say, I'm so sorry to all the moms. I was like, just work harder, get a sitter. I am so sorry. Because I just thought I'd pop these twins out. And the great thing about having money is you can get a lot of help, because they're like, we don't know what we're doing. Let's hire the best help we can afford. These amazing nannies and women who are like just gifted in what they do. And then suddenly though, I remember one morning, Brett was going off to he took a job here in Scottsdale because I wanted to live here. God bless that man. He's been a saint.
He's like perfect for you.
The most amazing man I know about him.
Yes.
Just ladies, if you're waiting, wait for the gift, wait for the one. And, he's going off to a job that he doesn't particularly like. It's okay. But I saw he wasn't too excited when he came home at the end of the day. I'm watching someone come in to take care of my babies, which with twins we needed, don't get me wrong. I don't care what you're doing. And then I was like, wait, what? And then he would come home and we kind of, I don't know, it just wasn't working. I didn't feel close to him. I didn't feel close to my kids. And here we are, I'm not saying there's a right way to do this, but for me,
for you,
I'm like, why are we working 2 jobs to pay for all this help, to stress ourselves out? And so we had a big sit down, and the gift was that one of the nannies quit when the kids were 2. And I was on the phone, I'm about to call the agency going, oh my gosh, we need another Mary Poppins, find one. And then I remember just putting it down. And I looked at Brett and I said, let's talk about this, because maybe there's an opportunity here. And, my business success has always followed my personal growth and my personal evolution. And so each aha I have, personally, typically then translates to my business. And this is the gift we have being a small, if you want to call it, business owner, that we forget. We enter these industries looking at everyone around us going, well, how do we do things here? And then we go do it. And we do it great. We do an amazing job. And like we beat, we're looking at everybody else, we want to beat them and do it. And we do it. But I'm telling you, typically I'm seeing this with women when they're hitting either 7 figures or maybe multiple 6. They start to feel, okay, this is awesome and not sustainable, or I'm actually not enjoying this part, but I am this part, or how do I approach this uniquely? And this is typically when they come to me. And then like I've coached with, A, B, C, D. I'm like, yep, I can name them all. Yep, they're all great. They teach, especially, specialties in certain categories, right? And there are times you want to learn formulas. If you know, for example, you want to learn to speak on stage and sell, there's people to go to for that, the webinars, right? But from a broader perspective, what I see is missing is a lot of women stepping back, looking at not only the business, but their career trajectory, going, what do I really want to create?
Right.
How do I design and re-engineer this business to be more there?
Right.
To be in my genius, to be making the impact I want. And often it's wonderful because when they give themselves permission to go there, this magic opens up. And starts flowing. And I saw that with you, Jenny, because you had a good business model before, and then something happened. And I'm still not quite sure what happened. I don't know if it was something about that last baby, I think.
Well, I got my girl, right? I have my
energy.
2 boys, and that girl energy is like, for those of us who are called to birth humans or bring humans and raise humans, they will shift you if you are, open to the magic that they bring. And, I think my children are my biggest teacher. And then as I shared with you, Allie, because I'm like, I'm getting to one of your events, and I just listened to your next one. I'm like, I'm going to be leading retreat in Tulum during your next one. So I want to make sure you tell people about
I'll plan it around you.
I know. I'm like, I got to get the dates down the line. But now I'm homeschooling I'm freaking homeschooling.
This is my homeschool phase. You're going to end up like the Duggars. I'm so terrified for you. Are you okay?
I'm not.
Are you okay?
No, there's only 3. I don't have like 25 kids. No, not that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, like that everything has just opened me up to say, like I work so much less than I did when you look traditional work. It's not like there's always ideas going on in my head and I'm feeling certain ways. And I went to yoga today and I went to meet with my therapist who I love. And I'm very open that I have this great team. That's me working, like I'm doing the work within so I can be a stronger leader to my people. But in terms of like me sitting down at my computer and, talking to clients, that time I've been so much more intelligent about the use of that because of my kids and the home and just how we've designed things. And so I think, that's the magic of being a woman and having this kind of a business is you get to decide how it needs to be shaped.
Totally.
Right
And
now.
women forgot that. It's fascinating because look, in the corporate world, when we came into the workforce, like after World War II, we simply adapted to the male models, right? Because God bless them. They went out and built things and created stuff and created these enterprises. And we came in and took positions there. So we fit into that model. Then entrepreneurship really started booming, and what technology shifted everything because it let us do this now. See, we're moms, but we're working at home. We can say, you know what, I'm taking the afternoon off. We're going to go swimming, whatever. Like it shifted everything. But what's interesting, I still see a lot, is that women start these businesses and they start fitting into the male model again.
Yes.
Without even thinking about it. And I did, because my early mentors were guys like Dan Kennedy, the old grumpy guy in Cleveland. Just a lot of these direct marketing guys, like, Brian Tracy, kind of that like surface level PD, and, but it was what was available at the time. I didn't relate too much. If I went too woo-woo, I didn't relate it. I'm kind of in between.
Right.
So I got a lot of the good business information where I could, and then I do some spiritual work on the side. And and then as I progressed, though, I just realized, wow, I just don't even, can I actually create my own model? And that's what I did with myself. And what's interesting is my ego was terrified that people would think, oh, Allie's not doing big things anymore. And what's really interesting is the women that come to me now for coaching are coming to me because they look at me and say, I saw what you did.
Yes.
I saw what you just pulled off.
Yes.
And how you are so much more in your genius. Your energy shifted.
Totally.
Doing more profound work.
Yes.
but with less stress and actually still making the same money. And I mean, how can anyone even question that? How can anyone even look at that and go, wow, that's wrong, or I don't respect that, or and what's interesting about I'm not down on social media, but it's a very interesting time right now.
Yes, let's talk about that, because I kind of research the way people do things, and I'm intrigued by that. Like, all right, what decisions are they making? How often are they posting? Like, do they do video? Do they not? And so for you, you just seem to have like a really clear grasp on what role this tool is going to play in your life.
I just fucking hate Facebook. And I'm sorry if you're posting this on Facebook.
That's
Facebook
okay.
was good to me for so many years.
You're over it.
Oh, you helped me so much. And now we post something, and I'm like, 200 people saw that out of 150,000.
That I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. They got us in, and now you got to pay to play.
And you know what? Let's take into account, though, it has been free.
It is
for so long, and we're all bitching. How come you're not helping me make money?
But it's more for me, the Facebook thing is like, I feel like the internet has become dangerous. I go on there sometimes, I'm like, oh God, like if I'm running an ad, then I'm just like, oh shit, someone's going to say something weird on there. That's when I'm just in the Wild West. And
that my best advice now, and here's what I did, is I took it off my phone.
Yeah, I don't have
Brett and I both would realize at night we're sitting there scrolling feeds of people we don't even know and being upset at what they posted. Like, what is this guy saying? I'm like, he lives in, Bumble, Kansas, and has a garage full of guns, and like, these are our friends. Like, let's just, he's entitled to his opinion, but I don't need to read it. Okay. Right. So I took it off my phone because it's not only making us all neurotic, but you need to, if you have not done any reading or been aware of the news lately, you better. Because your privacy now is so at risk, and then we could do a whole other show on this.
Yes.
So I'm just a little more careful. We used to do a lot of posting. We had it all set up automatically, and my quote of the day and all that stuff. And there just came a point, again, there's no right or wrong for this, but for me, I'm like, I'm going to post when I have something to say.
And you changed your whole easing thing too, because you were the easing queen, and then
now I just write when I have something.
You feel
to
like
say.
it, yeah.
And for me, I'm going to say it was easier than for others, probably because I'd already amassed such a following.
Exactly.
So, when you're getting started, you want regular visibility, you want exposure. See, it's a whole different conversation when
you get to a certain level. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So social media is just really interesting right now. At my last workshop, it was called the Creative Strategy Workshop, and it was something I just did one time because I was getting really I have events and workshops when I'm really juiced up about some new content and IP, and I'm like, let me have this workshop and see who comes. And we almost sold it out. It was great. Really marketed it. People came because I'm like, it's about thinking differently, and we all learn these formulas, and we're not even aware that we can shift things that formula. So one of the exercises I did, I don't think I even shared this anywhere else. It's only on your show.
Okay.
We handed out, I made this case study of a gal who was a coach, and I created all these details about her, and she'd reached maybe 400,000 a year, and she all about her business, kind of a little snapshot of her.
Yep.
Then the lights go down and a video starts playing. It's a doomsday video that Facebook is now shut down.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, here's the situation. I'm like, okay, you were going to be coaching this woman, and here's the situation. The lights went down. This eerie music came on, and I had this slideshow walking people through the demise of Facebook, because it could happen. And here's why. So I walked them through, and it's so funny, and it happened to be in the news that day too, but just by coincidence. But I walked people through saying, okay, it's 2019, and Facebook just had the largest data breach in history. It was so profound that the government has now shut it down.
Wow. Okay.
And as a ripple effect, they are also shutting down the major social media players. How would you market this woman? Here's a tip. When you're having clients work through a situation, it's sometimes good to have them work on an outside subject or object. I think they do that in psychology. They give kids dolls, for example, to act out emotions or whatever. When you're thinking about your business, take it outside of yourself and look at it objectively. That's why I created that case study. I said, okay, For Joan here, whatever I named her, I came up with a whole name. We found a picture,
I love it.
For Joan here, what would your recommendations be? And what's funny is, so then I gave them like all half an hour. They had to brainstorm with their table. And what I was cracking up about, like, which is half of them said, Joan should start a business teaching people how to market without social media.
Just to start a business. That's so funny.
And I'm like, so no. This is what everyone's doing, is they teach what they don't know. Like, I was dying, and I'm like, okay, besides that, you can
Joan's
see
current business. Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating? So I blew up the formula, and they reapplied the same formula. It was one of the same formulas. It was really fascinating to see. And we had some comical recommendations too. Like, I happened to mention that Joan's husband had been out of work for a year. They're like, put him to work, and change this.
Totally.
And, so it's getting people to think out of that box, because we're so unaware of it. And now my clients are getting really good at it. Actually, I had one just decide to take her high level mastermind program, and instead of selling it for 1 year, she's selling it for 2 years. And I'm like, wow, like, we were just so ingrained to know, like, programs are annual, right? And even I had never thought of that. But she said, most of them want to stay, but I just don't want to deal with all that renewal crap. She said, so I'm just selling them into a 2-year program. I said, that is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that. These are the things we're talking about, is like turning things upside down, being able to look at different perspectives. If I'm in this side of the room, I'm seeing a whole different opportunity here.
Yes.
I see 2 doors to get out of. I see a window. If I'm looking this way, I see nothing. Right.
Right.
And so it was all about that stuff. It was so fun. It was so fun.
You do that so well. That's what I most loved, and those programs I was in with you in my earlier days, that's what we would do. I went, when I was in the Millionaire Protege Club, back in the day, I went
with the purple brochure.
Yeah, I went to every single live gathering. Went to all 3 shines that you had. I went to that Repower workshop, and you do an amazing job of breaking things down and allowing us to think in different ways. It was like, what I called like the Millionaire Protege Club. That was me going to business school. I never got my MBA. I thought I would when I graduated college. I was like, yeah, I'll come back. And my roommate in New York City, when I was a public relations executive, and she was in her gig, and she's like, all right, let's start studying for the GMATs, right? And I was like, I'm just not feeling it. I don't want to study for those. I wasn't called. I didn't want to study the things that they study when you get your MBA. And that was the right move for me. And then I found my way into your world. I don't know if you remember this, but the way I heard about you like one time, and then I listened to, back in the day, pre-webinar, a teleclass. And it was, I tell people, I'm like, I've been doing this since there weren't webinars. Okay. And so I was on your teleclass about working.
This is when we sound really old.
Yeah. I
did teleclasses. Okay. I have to beat you on that. I did teleclasses on teleclass.com in 2003. The lines would not mute. So you had to remind people not to be cooking dinner, not to flush,
horrible,
to mute their phone. It was a nightmare, but I still sold a ton. Anyway,
because it was a different time. It was those were like, ooh, a teleclass, and so I was on yours about fear. I'm like, that's it. I'm going to this event. I'm buying my ticket. I was getting support with Sean. I was still nursing, but I was just listening to your podcast episode today about your creativity strategy, kind of, you broke that down, and you are so fucking smart. Number one, I just want to remind you of that. And you break things down in such a way that it allows me to think more critically, and to not just take things that are being served up. Like, I feel honestly like the internet is making people stupid. And it just is. Like you said, people aren't thinking anymore, because we can just instantly go get the answer, instead of being like, you know what, let me sit with that. And that's honestly a piece of, we just got thrown into the homeschooling thing. And I'm grateful that Stephen, we can do it together, and we bring in additional support. Like, we bring in outside teachers. So we're basically creating our children's education.
That's amazing.
But we are, to your point, some of the educational models are freaking broken. And so I want my kids to be able to think critically. I want them to find the answer, and to know what they love to do, and to be able to be, built up doing that, instead of doing a lot of the crap that happens.
Totally.
Horrible ways that kids treat each other because they see the way that adults treat each other. And a lot of that is the internet, with people.
We could do a whole show on the kid thing. I mean, it's been so eye-opening.
Yes.
Well, and
Yes.
here's what's interesting, I think, for the women entrepreneurs too. You know, the first kind of liberation was being able to work for ourselves. And then the next liberation was technology and doing all this. The next domino that's going to fall and that we reinvent the new model is education.
Okay.
Because women like us now, right? We can work, we could do this. We're working at home and we're like, wait, this school thing doesn't work for me. Like, wait, why do they have to do things this way? And why don't, like today's an example. And listen, I think the teachers, you know, they're doing a great job. Arizona, they just petitioned, they got a 20% raise. And our kids go to a semi-private school. Like it's kind of a semi-charter Montessori. But an example, like, so today the kids get out half day, right? But the parent-teacher conferences are in the afternoon, but they don't have anyone to watch the kids while you're meeting with them. I'm just like, and of course, I'm entrepreneurial. I'm like, well, why don't they have a paid-for sitting service, and then they can make cash, but they don't think that way. They'd rather sell muffins, you know? And I can't even get in conversations on those boards. I don't even go to those meetings because I'm like, I'm going to get in trouble.
You have to stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
Yeah. So we were, Brett and I, you know, when the kids were kind of preschool age, everyone starts asking you like, oh, what are you going to do about school and all this? And I remember we went out to dinner with this nice couple we met, and I met her at like a little gym thing, and you know, I'm like, oh, and she was a consultant. I'm like, oh, can we be friends because you work and you know I need someone to talk to with like it sounds like she's flying around and like you know, I'm like, oh, maybe we could like connect. So we went out to dinner with her and her husband, and the whole conversation was about like all the crap at school and all this and all that. And it was an enjoyable evening, but it was just interesting because we were kind of getting ready for the whole school thing. And it was, we're lying in bed at night, and you know when you know the other person's awake and you don't even have to see, but and I'm just lying there, and I go, are you awake? He goes, yeah. And he goes, what is it? And we didn't even turn on the lights or look at each other. It was just dark. I just said, I don't want to do this the normal way. He said, I'm with you. Like we were just on the same page. And I think it's just like entrepreneurship, that when you're raising kids, like we're just trying what we feel is the best things at the time, and you learn and adjust. And so right now the school's working great. And you know, oh my God, TGIM, when they go, like we have this amazing nanny / PA, Jenna, she's a rock star. I just keep, you know, giving her money. I got her a spa day this month. I'm like, please come back. They love her, you know, she drives them to school, which is just very time consuming, but I get to spend the morning with them, you know. So we've kind of invented our own model. But next year, you know, we go to Australia for 1 or 2 months a year.
How are you going to navigate
we'll
that?
see. I'm like,
cross that bridge when you get there.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm starting to worry about it. And Brett's like, you know, we'll enroll them next year. And then if we say we're leaving for 2 months and we'll be back, if they say don't come back, we'll say fine. Then we'll find another option. I don't know. It doesn't match. It doesn't match. No, I'm like, let me get this straight.
Yeah, that's the thing. I have a woman here who's an actress, and she now is, you know, performing in a play, like big operation, you know, production in New York City. And we ran into her husband recently, and he's like, yeah, we're homeschooling right now, you know, because that's a huge part of their life and their family. And you can go in and out. And I've talked to many people, because when we were first here, I was like, oh my God, wait, I don't know how to do this. What, this is insane. And she was like, Jenny, you can navigate in and out. Like, it's okay. Nothing is forever. It's like, you know what, you'll do this, then you can go over here. And I think it teaches kids to be really nimble and be able to shift, and you'll find the rhythm in each season that works for you. So I love that you go to Australia. I mean, I love it. And you bring your work there.
Are amazing travelers. Like they talk to people. They're so social. I really think the travel has been a huge piece of that.
That's the best education.
So capable. Yeah.
When you travel, you see how other people in the world live. You have gratitude for your own life. And then you realize, wow, there's a huge ass world out there. And there's a lot of places I can go to. That's where I feel like that's school. That is school. School is not just in the four walls, you know, in a particular school that is called a school in the classroom. That's one
rewriting the model. It was created for the Industrial Revolution as a childcare method. Why don't we do a whole panel?
Yes, bring me on. I want to talk to you about
I've wanted to, but maybe you can arrange it.
Well,
I was going to do one, but maybe you just
Well, I remember you had somebody on your show who was, I think you have several clients who do, you know, different, because once you're in this space, your point, that model doesn't work. It just
Suddenly, exactly. Like, just like we were like, oh, the 2 jobs doesn't work.
no,
Now we're like, oh, the education model doesn't work. I think
right.
it's going to continue.
Yes.
We'll have to think of what the next domino will be, but I
Yes.
think we're going to be reinventing it.
Yes. So what do you think is like, more changes on the horizon when it comes to business in this space for coaching and consulting? I've heard you talk a lot about, like, I love your talk around space and like really carving out that space, but in terms of how that connects into how we need to be prepared for what's happening and what will be happening in this industry.
Yeah. The best thing you can do right now is look at how you can be a category of one.
Okay. I love when you said that. I was like, I freaking circled that shit. It's like,
if Jenny Fennig circled that shit,
I might call this episode that. Yeah.
You want to be a category of one, because here's what happens. So for example, and I'm going to go back to my own example because it's just so damn obvious.
Yes.
Is that when I decided, no, I'm not competing with all of you, and here's who I were to work with, and that's my gift, and I'm going over here to do that. Suddenly, there was no competition. Suddenly, it was easy to market too, because I knew exactly who I was speaking to.
Yes.
I knew how to price myself. I knew everything suddenly became so clear. But the ego will fight that because you want to show that you have a million followers and 1,000 people in your programs. And here's I can't do it here as well, but when I'm on stage, I show that you cannot reach higher while you're reaching down.
Yes.
And so if you see me try to reach down the ground and then reach higher, I can't. When I'm like, oh, maybe we should sell a $7 ebook. Watch where I go. Ooh.
Yes. You just can't.
And here's what's happening that's dangerous with a lot of the women I see who are, truly brilliant. And you have brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
You're getting advice from all the funnel coaches and consultants to create like a 14-step funnel and all this stuff. And then these like tripwire offers. I hate that name.
I don't like that name. I didn't want to trip people.
And so here's an example. What happens to me, I had a client come to me and she's selling people pretty well. If she can get them on the phone or into a room, convert them into a $20,000 to $40,000 relationship. And what she was getting advice on is creating this whole funnel. And then sometimes as I'm kind of like the overseeing coach, and sometimes my clients very often will be working with different coaches and consultants, but I'm kind of the voice.
You're like the umbrella.
Yeah,
You're
totally.
The strategic mind. You help them position.
I'm the perspective advisor. You need someone with no agenda. If you're coaching with someone who's teaching webinars, they're not going to say, you know what? I don't think you need a webinar. I think you should do this instead. You are never going to hear that.
Yes.
You truly need someone who is an advisor. And so I'll kind of let them do it. I'll be like, all right, let me know how that goes. If you test it, here's the answer, test it.
Test it, right?
But it wasn't quite working. And so, I checked in with her. I'll just call her Jeannie. And I said, Jeannie, how's it going? And she said, well, it looks really good and we're getting some leads. And she said, but they're not buying the $7 ebook. So we're rejiggering all the ads. And I'm like, think about that. You're going to redo your lead gen to attract the people who want to buy a $7 ebook instead of the ones who are ready to pay you $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And she like face palm. I could feel her face palm on the phone. She goes, oh my God. Oh my God, you're right. I said, you are re-engineering your marketing for the lowest common denominator.
Right.
And that is where the bottom feeders are. It's where entry-level people are. It's an easy place to get started. There's a reason there's so many people there. It's because it's easy.
Right.
You have a gift, right? You do not want to be marketing. This is my philosophy. Okay.
Yes.
But I mean, I've seen this and I've done this with clients. You get out of that market and you start playing here. Because when you play here, even the beginners, and they'll all still want to follow you. They'll listen to you. They'll do it. But you don't have to go be the Mother Teresa of your market and create stuff for everyone. Because there's plenty of beginners. And here's why my ego wrestled too. I'm like, well, what about, well, not ego, but I was almost feeling I was abandoning people by moving over here.
Yes.
But I was like, my God, there's a million other coaches online
who can be down,
who can help you. There's all this information, right? Yes. So just think about that. If you just heard that and you're like, oh, that's interesting. There's not one model that works for everyone. But the women I see coming in, when you are in that, like you're in that verge of that genius zone and you're working up there, a mass market model may be the opposite of where
Yes.
you want to go. And it may be a lot harder, actually. When I'm up here, I'm flying up here, there's no one in my way.
Right.
It's a lot less crowded.
Totally.
It's so much fun.
And you like the air is better. I keep thinking of this song. I'm a big Tom Petty fan, and I've been listening to Tom Petty radio basically like since he died. I mean, I've loved him for a long time, but since he passed away late last year, I miss him. And there's this song that he has that I think you'll appreciate called Room at the Top. And it's like, I've got a room at the top of the world tonight. And like, that is this feeling that I have. I was in Costa Rica a few weeks back. I now lead my mastermind retreats in like global locations. So I do Costa and I do Tulum, and it's freaking powerful. My work is very spiritually charged. And so I bring together these amazing women, and there's, healers on these properties. And we do this really powerful work with like shamans. And it's cool. I mean, this is.
Do you do ayahuasca?
I have not done that.
I'll come if you do ayahuasca.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. We did in Tulum. I like Temazcal. Have you ever done a Temazcal? It's a Mexican sweat lodge. It's like from the Mayan tradition. Anyway, so I go there in my work, and I think maybe that's my, my thing is like.
How cool is that though, that you said, we're going to do it this way? Like, I'm not having this at a Marriott.
No, God, no. I did the conferences for all those years before I knew you. I was like, I already
3 days, success panel.
3 days. Well, I did them for businesses, and that's why I was never called.
Oh, that's right.
Massive events. I'm like, I've already been on that journey. That's a lot. Like you knew with your shines. Yeah. It's all your whole life for the entire year.
I love this. I love this because those of you listening right now, if someone's telling you have to do something as part of your model, it's a lie.
You don't.
If you hate events, don't do events.
Exactly.
I've had people come to me and they're spending like tens of thousands of dollars on speaker training. They're like, I hate speaking. I'm like, then don't speak on stage.
Right.
Maybe do a podcast where you can just talk and be by yourself and hear it.
Totally.
Really, we're losing our brains.
It's freaking because people, like you said, we're not being able to critically think anymore. People are just feeding us stuff. And I want, even for us coaches and consultants where we do give guidance, but we ask questions, I never want our ability to be able to think for ourselves, which I think some of this industry people have done where they almost, I've seen, backlash around like, I used to love that person. I worshiped her. I did this. I'm like, why would you worship anyone? Like you have to learn. And I think, in terms of just like this industry, this space, when we have to make moves for ourselves, we're going to disappoint people. Some people are going to be pissed that you don't have your magazine anymore, your $97 a month thing. It's like, you can't be all people.
I'm laughing because it sounds so funny right now, but that was my world.
I remember.
We had someone crying at one event because I didn't go give them a hug, and I hugged someone else at their table.
That's the thing. That's the thing. We have to remind people that everything that they want is within them. And so our job as coaches and consultants is to remind them of that, ask them critical questions, have them be able to think. And so I appreciate you allowing people to think. All right, Allie, I know you've got it.
One quick thing. Wait, I got it. So that's the difference. See, most of those people aren't true coaches.
I know.
They're trainers. They teach a formula. They may be good teachers,
right?
They may be good trainers, but a good coach will do exactly what you just said: is help you see inside yourself what that right answer is, and then give you the best advice from all their experience.
Exactly.
Too. I always start with I will never give an answer right away. I'll be like,
let's look really good questions.
Let's look at the context. Let's look at what you're trying to achieve.
Yes.
And then also what would feel good? Like what would juice them up? Because we're losing that juiciness.
Right. And that's that whole like feminine edge. And that's why it was like right after your repower. It might have been like while I was, it was like probably one of the Elevate meetings. I think it was pre-repower. I launched my own coaching school because I saw there was a major freaking issue in this market. Wow. All these people are like, they don't even know what that is. It just sounds good and they can charge for it. But like the craft was getting shit on basically. And I realized you taught me this. Okay. I guess I'm going to step in and do something about this. I'm not waiting for somebody else to solve. I'm creating
the new model. Yeah,
I'm going to create the model.
You're creating your new model.
Yes. Yes.
Do you still have that?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I just had a retreat this past weekend. I bring people into my home, Allie. I bring my students here. I have this amazing space and I love where I live. And that's, again, my way is like, I will come into my world. Let's do this work. So I had a question from one of my colleagues. She wanted to know, she was way back in one of your programs. what advice do you have? I know you really focus on those 7-figure, 8-figure, maybe, multiple sixes, but for those women who are earlier stages, they want to crack that first 6. With everything that's going on now, the social, it could go away. Like, what would you say to somebody now who wants to get there?
Get out in person.
Okay.
Get out in person. If you're sitting there and creating Facebook ads and the whole online marketing strategy, that you some people use it to hide, but some people think it's what they should do,
right? Because
they're hearing, oh, this is how you do it. And it's exciting. It's so exciting when you start. I remember being there Friday nights, like testing opt-ins, and this is when I was single, obviously. I was like, this is awesome. We're doing an A/B split test, I love that shit. I did my own HTML code. Like, I was I was such a geek. But honestly, right now, if I were starting over with nothing, let's say if you took everything away, I would get out in person and show up in events and learn how to talk to people. You will have limited success online only right now if you're using traditional strategies.
Yes.
And everyone's like, oh, just massive exposure, just massive action, get out there. I want you to step back and be strategic. So for example, if you have a specific type of market, let's say that you are a coach for a certain type of niche, and I don't know, let's think of anything like, accountants or something, right? Like you can do all this stuff online, but showing up to events where they are and meeting in person, trying to learn to speak for those events, speaking on stage, if you're up for it, is still one of the absolute best ways to break through that clutter, because you're a real person, you're on stage, you're already positioned as an expert being on that stage.
Right.
That I have clients doing still amazing stuff with speaking and then leading people. And now with, texting, they can opt in the audience, they bring them in, then bring them into a very brief webinar and then sold into a program. It's versus this long, arduous, terrible funnel with 14 emails that mean nothing, right?
Yes.
So that would be, and it was great advice. I think it was really, Earl Nightingale, has been dead a long time, but he was one of the early fathers of like personal development. He's the guy who coached like the Jim. He was before the Jim Rohns and Giant and all that. He had a quote saying, I'm going to paraphrase it, that if you're never sure what to do, look at what 99% of the other people are doing and do the opposite. And so really, when you're getting started, learn those models, but then see what you can do a lot differently.
Oh my God, I love that. Tell everyone about your upcoming event and how they can get on your wait list.
Iconic 2.0. I want you there. I want you there, Jenny. If you can make it.
I'm going to be in Tulum. Like
you are going to be in November?
Yes, I heard your dates. I'm like,
we're on the same schedule. Okay.
We are on the same schedule, but the next one, like, give me something. I'll work around it.
All right. So Iconic, this is Iconic 2.0. I did the first one last year.
Yes.
It sold out in 2 days.
I remember.
I'm like, what's happening? No one's having this conversation.
Right.
And I'm aware it's probably going to be, there will be more people now having it, now that I'm having it. But really everything we talked about today, if you are, it's designed for people who have been in business a few years, making, probably about 250 plus. That's usually that first kind of launching pad that I'm used to. We start to change the conversation a bit. Occasionally, if someone has a good platform or a really solid position, then I'll let them in. It is application only. It's November 7th and 8th. It's here in Phoenix. And what we're looking at over those 2 days is how to incomparably position you as your own category, where everything gets easier. Everything will get easier, everything will get clearer, and you will walk out of there just thinking so differently. I mean, the best feedback, well, 2 big pieces of feedback I got, both at the event and afterwards, were one, the content was great, but it was more how it now shifted my thinking for everything that's changed me. And number 2, the women in the room. Man, the average revenues in the room, everyone shares that in their applications. We're adding them up, and I'm like, Brett, Brett works with me in the business now, and I'm like, average revenues are over $1 million per person in this room. It was a wonderful mix of people. We had some women from retail. We had some women from, so it wasn't all the coach.
Right.
It was so different. My last event, we had a woman who runs a yacht racing photography business.
That's awesome.
We had a gal who, We had a woman who teaches people how to invest in multi-unit real estate, and she's made millions with. I mean, just so out of the box. And one more piece of advice: when you're at that jumping point and you're trying to figure out now, what can I do differently? Stop going to your own industry events, or go to them a lot less. Go to something like this, where you'll be in a room with one of my clients, Charlene Simon, has a chain of 5 soaperies and is doing like multiple millions a year. I mean, it breaks you out of that box and how you're thinking. So it's iconic. It's November 7th and 8th. If you go to Ali Brown, we're still getting a landing page. So I don't know, when is this going to run?
It'll run this month in May.
Okay. So we may have an opt-in, hopefully, but here's where you can definitely opt in right now. If you can't find it, go to allybrown.com, click on events, and there'll be a link to it there, or an opt-in right there. And that'll put you on the priority notification list. And here's my advice. Even if you're just kind of curious, get on that list, because then you'll be first to know. You can decide if it's right for you. But I have a feeling for so many women, this is going to be exactly the conversation they need.
If any of you have not been in a room with Ali, you need to. Ali, you changed my life. I always tell you that. I have to remind you, I wouldn't be here. I remember coming to your retreat, your event, Shine. I was just like, the path I'm on is not sustainable. I was wise enough to know that. And just being in your energy, seeing that I could do this, you just break things down so intelligently, and you do attract some amazing people into that room. So thank you for all that you do.
You're one of the amazing women I attracted, so thank you. It's amazing. We can have a show every week. We have so much to talk about. Let's take it on the road.
Talk about, exactly. Let's take it on the road. And I will talk about like education. I like that. I'm going to table that and think about how we can do that. Well, thank you again, Ali. Everybody go check her out. This is Jenny Fenwick sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. I'll see you next time.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Fenwick. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Get Gutsy as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. Are you responsible for leading and growing your spiritual business? If so, I have a free tool for you that will help you spread your message like wildfire. It's called the Sacred Marketing Puzzle, and it's a one-page PDF guide that simplifies the often mysterious and confusing world of marketing. When you use sacred marketing tools to amplify your message, you'll provide huge value to your tribe and grow your business. What are you waiting for? Go to jennyfenwick.com/puzzle to get yours instantly. That's jennyfenwick.com/puzzle. Gutsy leaders, unite.